If I asked you what life looks like for the bestest version of you, how would you describe it? Do they wake up early or do they wake up late? Who do they spend time with? What do they do for a living? What are their values? What makes them happy? Now ask yourself if your current self aligns with this version. Now don't worry if it doesn't, because in this video we are going to talk about how you can bridge the gap between your current self and your best self. Now, I've given this a 60-day or an 8-week timeline because that is often enough to get you in the groove, to get you moving, to get you started with this journey that can help you unlock your full potential, level up your life, and become the person that you've always wanted to become. Now, this is going to be very different from any other video you've probably seen on this topic, so I would suggest that you take notes, save this video so that you can come back to it again and again, and subscribe. And let's get started with transforming ourselves. Part 1 of this video is understanding what our truest and bestest version looks like. So we're going to start by creating a roadmaps of the habits and the routines that our bestest version aligns with. Now, I'm not getting into specific habits here because these can look different for different people. But to make things easier, think of the top 4 or 5 qualities that your best version identifies with, that you think you will have as your bestest self. And now we want to chalk out the habits and the routines that will help us get aligned to these identities, these qualities, right? For example, my bestest version is super fit, super healthy, and she loves her body for whatever it is, right? So now to reach these qualities, to reach this state, I will have to build a routine that incorporates exercise, eating healthy, and working on my body mindset. So once you've identified the qualities, the traits that you want to embody as your bestest self, and you've chalked out the habits and routines that you need to figure out in order to get to those habits, the next thing we're going to do is describe an ideal day in the life of your bestest self. I absolutely love this exercise because it allows you to visualize what life can look like for you when you are functioning at your highest self. So what you're going to do is you are going to take 1 hour out of your Sunday or your Saturday, whenever you have free time next, and you are going to sit and visualize what a day in the life of your best self looks like. Think of everything that your bestest, highest version would do on their ideal day. And of course, this doesn't have to be an action-packed thing. You're not jotting down things to the minute, right? You know that you wake up from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. That's not what I'm talking about. You could be on a beach sipping margaritas if that is your jam, right? I want you to really go deep into this exercise and think from a place of fulfillment and contentment, you know. Imagine a day when you are at your happiest, when your bestest self is at their happiest, and think from that perspective, because we attract what we embody. Once you're in that zone, just list out the activities you see yourself doing. And I'm specifically saying activities because these are the activities that will eventually build up your routine. For instance, when I think of my bestest self, I imagine her waking up early, doing a visualization gratitude practice, and drinking coffee in her very fancy mug. And then she goes for her hot girl workout. She looks absolutely banger, and she has these really nice gym fits. And once she's back from her workouts, she has a delicious breakfast that's prepared by an in-house chef. Then she has this luxurious shower and then gets to work, and so on, right? So I'm not getting into more details because then that will make this video exceptionally long, but you get the idea. Now, once you have that list of activities that your best self would be indulging in, you are going to identify the gaps in your current lifestyle, in your current way of thinking, that are preventing you from getting here. For instance, if I want food prepared by a private chef, I need to be able to spend more money to hire a private chef. Right now then, the thing that is stopping me from getting a private chef to make all my meals is money. On the other hand, I don't have cute gym fits right now, or so I would like to believe. And the reason for this is because I'm still working on my body mindset and I'm still working on my fitness, and I would really like to look like hot in those gym fits. So I am waiting to get to a stage where I am happy with my body so that I can be happy putting on those gym fits. So these are the gaps that are currently there in me achieving that aspect of my bestest self. Now, when it comes to working out, for example, even though I work out regularly, there are days when I will lax, there are days when I will not follow my diet very properly. And so I know that those are the gaps that are preventing me from getting here as soon as possible. Now, identifying these gaps is such a huge factor in us realizing how to get to our bestest self. Because if you're not doing this and you're constantly striving for a goal, but you're not figuring out what's holding you back, you're never going to be able to overcome these factors that are actually holding you back. Now, once you've identified the gaps, the only thing that's left to do is get down to work to bridge those gaps. And in the next section, we are going to figure out how we can make this very easy to do, how we can actually make the process of bridging this gap a lot easier than it otherwise would be. Whenever we are trying to build a positive habit or a positive routine, discipline is one part of the equation. The other part is motivation. And people will often tell you that, you should not focus on motivation because it's fleeting, and focus only on discipline. But my dear friends, to get discipline, to initially take that plunge also requires motivation or willpower. So what I mean by building a motivation routine is building a short 10-minute quick practice that actually gets you pumped up to take action. And it's extremely, extremely useful on days when you are feeling low, when you just feel like skipping on that workout or on eating that healthy meal. This 10-minute routine can get you back in the groove and fired up to actually take the actions that you need to take. So for me, this looks like making a cup of coffee and watching a short motivational video. This is one of my favorite ones. Every time that I'm feeling low, I switch this on, I play this for 5 minutes, and it gets me fired right up. Of course, it takes a little bit of time to arrive at what is the perfect combination of things that can act as a motivation for you or a motivator for you. For a lot of people, it can be just going for a walk, I have friends who do that, who whenever they're feeling low or lazy or whatever, they'll go for a 10-minute walk, and that fires up the endorphins and they end up feeling a lot more motivated. So what I want you to do is just look back on the past couple of days and see what are the little things around you that push you to take action. It could be a post-it that you put on the wall. It could be coffee and a motivational video. It could be going for a walk. It could be just doing 10 jumping jacks in your house. And I want you to list out activities that you don't necessarily notice, but if you look back, you figure out that these actually push you to get that little extra boost of motivation. Figure out those activities, list them down, and see which of those can be done in under 10 minutes. And that actually becomes your motivation routine. So whenever you're feeling low, whenever you're procrastinating, that is the specific set of activities that you do, and you get fired up to take action again. And this comes in super handy whenever you are just going to bail on the promises that you made. The next step is going to be building emotional resilience. A lot of times in life, we are held back because of our emotions. Either because we are too happy, either because we are too sad, and we're not able to control those emotions long enough to be able to take a practical approach or to take a good decision, a decision that is actually good for us. Emotions can quite literally overtake our whole lives. And I'm not saying that feeling your emotions is a bad thing. All I'm saying is that sometimes in life, we need to figure out a way to overcome these emotional urges, to overcome these feelings so that we can continue to do what we set out to do. Building emotional resilience is all about this. The first thing you need to do here is create and uphold your boundaries. And these are not just boundaries with other people, but boundaries with yourself, which means that if you make a promise to yourself, you keep it. Because the more promises you keep to yourself, the more your self-trust builds, and that improves your confidence as well. Start out with your smaller promises, ones that take the minimal effort to fulfill, and uphold that boundary. If you have told yourself that I am going to go for a walk every single day, no matter if it's raining, if it's sunny, if it's cloudy, if you are sad, if you're angry, if you're anxious, this one thing, this one promise that you have told yourself that you're going to fulfill every single day, you do it no matter what. And that is how you start to uphold your boundaries, the boundaries that you have created. And it has a trickle-down effect. Once you start doing it with one thing, it snowballs into doing it with other things in life. Once you realize how beneficial this is for you in life, you will automatically want to uphold your own boundaries in whichever areas you set your boundaries. The next thing, and this is one of my go-tos for emotional resilience, is to remember the fact that this too shall pass. Ye waqt beet jayega. And I have this written in my phone. I have it written on my vision board. Whether I'm going through something extremely happy, extremely good, whether I'm going through something that's extremely sad, I keep reminding myself of this one thing. Ye waqt beet jayega. And that gives you a sense of detachment that doesn't come from anything else. Because if you know that this is going to pass, you automatically hold on to it less. You experience it, you enjoy it, but you don't hold on to it for dear life. The third thing that is very, very important for building emotional resilience is finding a healthy outlet to vent. Now, we all feel emotions. They are a very fundamental, intrinsic part of being human, which is why you need to find a healthy outlet to vent. It can be journaling, it can be doing MMA, it can be going running. For me, it's a mix of working out and journaling. Journaling coming first, obviously, because writing, I have found, helps me vent like nothing else ever does. So I already have a video on journaling if you want to check out how to write or journal for processing your emotions. But yes, you need to figure out what is a healthy outlet for you to vent. It can be sports, it can be dancing, it can be EFT tapping, it can be journaling, whatever it is. Because if you can't vent, you'll just keep building things up like a pressure cooker and just burst one day. And that is not being emotionally resilient at all. And finally, I want you guys to build a visualization and a grounding practice to build emotional resilience. This is kind of like affirmations. Visualizations is kind of like affirmations, where you sit down and you visualize yourself as a calm, composed, detached, and collected person. I do a visualization practice every single day, and it remains consistent. Like the visualization or the thing that I'm visualizing remains consistent for a period of time till I achieve that visualization, and then I move on to the next one. So if you are trying to get detached, if you are trying to gain more control over your emotions, a good visualization practice to do is to sit down with your eyes closed for 5 to 10 minutes and imagine yourself as this person who is extremely calm, composed, detached, does not get bothered, has healthy outlets to vent, however you want your bestest self to be when it comes to emotional resilience. Trust me, this is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. Now, please keep in mind that building emotional resilience can take months, can take years, depending on how often and how well you practice these things and what your internal makeup is like, what kind of a person you internally are. That, of course, is a factor. But if you start doing these practices, it will help you become more emotionally resilient than you currently are, for sure. The next thing we need to do after this is getting rid of self-doubt. We are all human. We don't always feel confident. We have periods of self-doubt. That is very intrinsic. That is very natural to being a human person, a human being. But it's how we deal with these feelings of self-doubt that separate achievers or successful people from those who just dream about what they want to do, right? And we want to be achievers. We want to be the doers and not just the dreamers. There's a very popular quote from Tony Robbins in this regard, and he says that I don't have to get rid of the fear, I just have to learn how to dance with it. And I absolutely love this, because facing self-doubt is actually like learning to dance with that fear that you have about yourself. So the practices that can help you overcome self-doubt, and the ones that I have used in the past as well, number one is having an achievements list. Now, you can do this by writing stuff on post-its and putting it in a jar, or you can just do this by writing your achievements down in a journal or in your notes app or wherever it is. Something that is very easily accessible. So if you have it on your iPad like I do, you have a separate notebook which is just for your achievements, and every time you achieve something, you go write it down in that. What I also tend to do is whenever people leave nice comments and they tell me something nice about my content, about my work, I will screenshot it and then put it in this notebook. And whenever I am feeling low, whenever I have periods of self-doubt, if I look at somebody else and I think, oh my God, how will I ever get there? I don't know how to do XYZ. I will look at that notebook. And that is such an instant pick-me-up. That is such an instant quasher of all kinds of self-doubt. And I also use this in my motivation routine when I'm feeling unmotivated because of self-doubt. And it works 100% of the time. The second thing here, and this is super, super important, is to do the thing that is generating that feeling of self-doubt. For instance, if I look at somebody doing a course on YouTube and I doubt myself that I can't do this, the only way for me to show my brain that I can do this is to actually go ahead and do the thing. And then I will have data points. My brain will have data points. I can either do that thing, right? Or I absolutely can't. If I absolutely can't, I can actually begin to move on and try something else. And if I can, then my self-doubt is automatically quashed. This sounds like कि बहुत मेहनत करने वाली advice है ये, but it's actually not. Because often the feelings or the things that generate self-doubt in us are very, very small. And 90% of the times, they are things that we can actually overcome and do very, very easily. So the more we do things that generate self-doubt, the lesser self-doubt we will have. And finally, you want to change the way that you talk to yourself and you talk about yourself. And the only way that I've found that is helpful to do this is via affirmations. You can listen to affirmations, you can write down affirmations, you can speak affirmations out loud. If you suffer from self-doubt, there are so many specific affirmations on Pinterest, on YouTube that you can actually find. I will link a couple down below so that you have easier access. Go ahead, write them down every single day till the way that you talk about yourself and the way that you talk to yourself changes. Because the way we speak about ourselves is actually what defines our identity. And if I constantly keep saying, I am not good at this, or I can't do this, oh my God, you are so much better at this, and I can't really do this. If I keep saying things like this about myself to other people, that is the narrative that I'm building up in my head, and that will never let my self-doubt go away. The next step is to learn how to spend time by yourself. Most of us spend time by ourselves because we have to, not because we want to. And most of us are not good at it either. If you learn how to spend time by yourself and enjoy your own company, that is the fastest route to self-growth. And this doesn't mean that you have to be a loner or not spend any time socializing at all. This just means that you don't let those things become a crutch. You don't let those things become something that you cannot survive without. So a couple of ways that you can do this is to, one, get off social media and to get off your phone and to try new hobbies. Anything that involves not doing things on your phone. Another thing you can do is plan dates for yourself, just like you would plan a date with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a friend even, right? Take out the time, plan your whole activity out, take yourself out to a nice restaurant, maybe a nice movie. And this will actually truly tell you what other things that you enjoy doing. For instance, whenever I go on dates by myself, I absolutely love Asian food. So I will go to a ramen place, for instance, or I will go to a place that sells really nice pizza or whatever, and then I'll eat it by myself. I'll enjoy it with my own company, and that is the most satisfying experience in the whole world, because you don't have to order on the basis of other people's preferences. You can take yourself out to wherever you want. You can have whatever budget you want. There are no social commitments or constraints, and it is the most liberating thing in the world. Another thing is to take time out for self-care. I already have that 60-day glow up video, so that can give you a lot of ideas on how to take care of yourself. But taking out time for self-care essentially means that you have a couple of minutes or half an hour in the day reserved just to get yourself in that zone of relaxation where you are content with your life, where you're content with your body and your mind, and you are at peace. Finally, you want to practice self-reflection, because spending time alone without reflection is just like scrolling on social media and being mindless about it. It's only when you reflect on your actions, on your thought processes, on how your day goes, on how you react to situations, that you actually learn about yourself. So it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be something that takes up all of your time. It can be something as simple as just doing a journal entry for 10 minutes a day, or 5 minutes a day, or writing one sentence or one paragraph in a day. Anything that allows you to look back on your day and think about the good, bad, and the ugly. And now we come to the final step, which is practicing contentment. Now, true contentment comes from this deep-seated belief and feeling of accepting who you are and where you are at any given moment. You might be thinking, ki abhi tak to I have spoken about reaching your bestest self and becoming your highest self, and now suddenly I'm talking about accepting wherever you are. Isn't that counterintuitive? It's actually not, because whenever we are striving to get to some place, right, it cannot happen if we are existing in a feeling of dissatisfaction, if we are unhappy. A lot of times when we try and change ourselves, which is constantly, by the way, thanks to social media and thanks to everything else, we have this idea in our head that having that thing or being that person or looking like that person is what is going to make us content and happy. But that is not how happiness works. That is not how contentment works, right? Contentment is as much a practice and an intentional choice as it is a state of being, which means that you actively have to choose to be content with wherever you are while striving to grow to get to the next level. Because when you are happy here, you are attracting more of that happiness. When you are content here, you are attracting more of that peace of mind in your life. We want to make contentment and happiness a choice, because I am very, very sure that your highest, bestest self actually wants to be content and happy. And that actually starts now by accepting your current reality and being very, very aware of it. So a few things that you can do to make contentment a practice, a habit. Number one is gratitude journaling, because it allows you, it forces your brain, it trains your brain to look for things in your current state, in your current environment that bring you joy, that you are grateful for, that are making your life richer, fuller, right? And when you think of more of those things, you attract more of those things, you manifest more of those feelings and that state. And that's what you want to do. The second thing you want to do is not act on emotions. Now, again, this ties in with our emotional resilience point, which is whenever you are feeling any sort of extreme emotion, which whether it's happiness, whether it's sadness, postpone your decision making till you are in a balanced emotional state. Because when we are too happy, for instance, we tend to overestimate how things will look in the future. And when we are too sad, we tend to underestimate how things will look in the future. And we don't want to make decisions in that space. Next thing, stop buying things that you don't need. Stop giving into consumerism. Buying new things is not going to make you happier. It's not going to make you fulfilled. It's just a substitution for that lack that we feel inside most of the times. Go ahead, look inwards, figure out why you feel this need to keep buying things continuously, and then act on those. Next thing is to tackle emotional eating. And this is such a chronic problem. I am an emotional eater. Whenever I'm sad, overwhelmed, anxious, whatever, eating is like my go-to default thing, and I crave chocolate and all those things. I have learned to control that to a huge extent. So whenever I am craving this sort of food that I know is not nourishing for my body, I will question myself. I'll take a pause, I'll question myself and ask, why do I really want this? Am I feeling stressed out? Am I feeling anxious? And if I know that I'm feeling stressed out, is there some other way that I can deal with that stress instead of going and picking up a chocolate? Oftentimes there is, and I do take that action now. It's been a journey, but I've gotten to this point. And finally, you want to actively practice finding the joy in the little things. You can do a weekly exercise where you sit down and you notice everything around yourself. Try and pick out 5 things around yourself in the room, in the park, wherever, that you had not seen before. This is one exercise. The second exercise is to sit down and to look at the objects around you, look at the things around you, the people around you, and ask yourself if they bring you joy, and if they do, why they bring you joy. It will teach you to appreciate the little moments a little bit more, and you will be a lot better off because of it. Now, quickly, I will recap everything that we have discussed today so that you have sort of a roadmap and you know what goes where. We started by identifying the habits and the routines that we need to build to reach our highest, bestest self. Then we described the ideal day in the life of our highest, bestest self. And this allowed us to figure out what are the gaps that are there in our current lifestyle, in our current life, that are stopping us from reaching this bestest self. In the next set of steps, we start by building a motivation routine that pumps us up whenever we are feeling down, whenever we're feeling lazy or procrastinating. The next thing is we are taking measures to build emotional resilience so that emotions don't hold us back from taking the actions that get us to where we want to go. Then we work on getting rid of our self-doubt, taking measures so that self-doubt is not the thing that's holding us back from reaching where we want to go. After that, we learn to spend time by ourselves, because that is super important to figure out where it is that we really want to go and how we can get there. Finally, we practice contentment in the present to attract similar things in the future. So that is your roadmap right there. You can take a screenshot. You can of course come back to this video whenever you want. And that was it for today's videos, my lovely people. This was different from the usual best self videos that we will see, because they'll talk about a set of habits that you actually need to build, but I didn't see anywhere people talking about how to build those habits. We all know that we need to exercise more and eat healthy, and I've spoken about those things in my videos in the past. But how do you actually do those? How do you tackle the things that hold you back from actually doing those things? That is what we have covered in today's video. I hope you found this helpful, and take care of yourselves. I will see you guys very, very soon with another one. Bye.